Now, it's been all quiet on the Western Front for what was a very busy and very active Crystal Palace transfer window. And then all of a sudden, when one move happens, maybe a few others might follow it, because we've had pretty much the absolute confirmation at this point that Ismaila Sarr is going to be an Eagle. He's going to be a Crystal Palace player for the upcoming season in the Ole Glasner revolution. But this transfer might just signal the falling of some dominoes that Crystal Palace fans have been, watching through, their fingers for this one to, Olise is going to Bayern, but surely that means they keep a hold of some of the other stars, maybe not. In the video today, we'll be having a look at the incoming transfer of Ismaila Sarr, what it does to the Crystal Palace best 11, the squad depth in general, and what those other dominoes that might fall might be. At any point in the video today, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this as we cover all the big transfer news and different developments we've got across the European and world transfer window this summer as we prepare for what is going to be the biggest season ever on this channel for the 24-25 season. And get into the comment section in this one and let me know what do you think about Ismaila Sarr. Is he going to hit the ground running at Crystal Palace, or is this a failed attempt to replace Olise? Be really interested to catch the comment section on this one, guys. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. Now, for you Crystal Palace fans that have been jumping into the comments in the last couple of videos, I've added in Amada, I've added in Ozo into the depth chart. I've kind of tidied up some of the different bits and pieces. Some of you were telling me about Raksaki might be on his way out, and I've seen some of those rumours and links floating around. But just scoring a wee goal in pre-season doesn't help your chances of maybe sticking around the squad and maybe making a bit of an impact. Because if we were to look at this, Ismaila Sarr has to be coming in to be in the best 11 for Crystal Palace. And we know how Ole Glasner plays, we know how he sets up, and with the earlier addition of Daichi Kamada, there's not really any space for him to come into this attacking slot. Now, we have developed this on since Olise left, but generally, Glasner has one of the supporting attacking midfielders be that bit of a ball carrier, the one that can take it from midfield into attack and can get into the box and, actually put the ball in the back of the net themselves. And what he normally likes from the other player that he'll have supporting the striker, very similar to Olise, is that they can be a direct route to goal themselves. They can go pie people, they can take players out of the game, and they can set up their teammates for tap-ins, for goal-scoring opportunities, whatever it might be. So Ismaila Sarr, firmly for me, comes into this Crystal Palace team to take over from Olise, to walk in his shoes, as it were. And this puts a bit of a precarious situation here for Kamada, who we do think is going to be in the best 11, and the manager definitely champions as one of his guys, and he's had a pretty good start to pre-season by all accounts. I've seen the training videos going around or whatever, but you can't not have Eberechi Eze in the team. And sadly, those transfer links to Tottenham and a few other teams are gaining a bit more traction. And now with the addition of Ismaila Sarr, for me, it feels rather likely that Eze is going to leave, sadly. And this would be, on top of Michael Olise, a huge loss to the Crystal Palace team. Because really then what you end up with is Kamada and Sarr as replacements. I don't think they're actually bad, man for man, profile for profile. And then let's see how they actually translate that on the pitch. Replacements for the aforementioned players that Crystal Palace have sold. One, maybe the other one isn't too far to follow. But I think you would quite clearly say that Eze offers a lot more in transitions from carrying the ball from front to back than Kamada does. And Sarr, I think 1v1 attacking winger, wide forward kind of situation, he's probably just as dangerous as Michael Olise. But Olise coming in and that artillery, his delivery from all different areas of the pitch is something that I don't think we're going to see from Ismaila Sarr. But one of the things I love about Sarr is he is an elite level dribbler. Throughout his time at Watford and really throughout his whole career, his numbers for box entries, take-ons, dribbles, all the really important stuff you want from this type of player, have been up there with the likes of Neymar and the other players that really dominate those statistics for the last 5-6 years or whatever across European football. And he's been in the Premier League before. He's been in England for a sustained period of time before as well. He is not, I don't think you need to worry about him acclimatising and all that kind of thing. It's just going to be adaptation to the style, to the route to go. And I think attacking players like playing under Glasner, especially a guy like Sarr that wants the freedom of, hey, when you're on the ball and you're driving up the pitch, you're in the driver's seat. It's up to you to beat the guys. It's up to you to find the striker, and it's up to you to, win his matches ultimately. So I think you could see the best version of Ismaila Sarr, which I think, on top of Daniel Munoz, who you know, his fan club is just getting bigger and bigger all the time, isn't it? You know, Crystal Palace have got a formidable right-hand side here that would really be troubling so many Premier League teams up and down the table all of next season. But I can't get away from the fact that seeing Sarr and Kamada in here, instead of it being Olise and Eze with these players supplementing them or improving them in some way, it doesn't really feel like there's much of a forward step. You know, it's a kind of sideways one where they're selling some players for lots of money and they're replacing them for very, very cheap. Kamada didn't cost much. Sarr didn't cost much either. And although it's not terribly glamorous maybe just yet, you like to think and hope that the Crystal Palace board are kind of giving Glasner the transfer kitty and letting him pull the strings, because I was thinking when I was setting up for this, Kamada and Sarr, this is like business I would do if I was in charge of Crystal Palace. You know, I love both of these players. I think they would fit the system fantastically. I do admit bringing Sarr in to replace Olise takes a special eye. It might not have been something I would have openly recommended or thought of myself, but love both of these players, and I think they'll do a great job for Palace, don't get me wrong, but they're both different. Their strengths can be similar, but they do have not necessarily weaknesses versus the guys they're replacing, but certainly deficiencies, and that just makes me worry a little bit for the high expectations that I had for Crystal Palace this year, because again, Amada, I've checked him out a little bit. Doucouré and Lerma, I know there's lots of Crystal Palace fans that love these guys as well. There's enough kind of in the engine room to keep Crystal Palace afloat, and if Guy, whatever, if he was to be sold, because his links are coming back around again, Chadi Riyad can probably fill in here well enough in the main back three, and you know, to focus on the Premier League and get into European football, I think this kind of base outfit probably could do it, but it's a probably. If Guy does leave and then you're going through the season with Riyad, maybe there's another backup defender that gets brought in, and then, you know, you're 10 games in or something like that, and Sarr gets injured. What a surprise that would be, you know, at the time. Then, you know, you're then relying on Ayew again or something like that, and it really just feels like there's not that much progression here. Maybe Raksaki, maybe Franca, maybe Edward, maybe somebody else can, you know, take a wee bit of this role and responsibility. One player I've seen Crystal Palace already kind of loosely linked to, another former Glasner pupil, as it were, is Filip Kostic, who has no future at Juventus. And apparently you guys, maybe, is it West Ham or Aston Villa? It's another team like that, and Fenerbahce are interested in him. So I don't know if I think he would add into the depth here very, very well. Kostic I've never been his biggest fan. I do like him a lot. I think he's very good for what he is. You know, he's a wide player that will play balls into the box. You can get him to take all your set pieces and they'll be delivered pretty damn well. And he's got a huge engine on him. You know, he will run up and down the pitch as much as is asked of him. And I don't think he would expect to be best 11, so he's a good guy to supplement. Normally he, for Glasner before he played in this position here, but you could afford somebody like Kostic just off the striker in this type of shape, depending on rotation and injury and availability and that kind of thing, or from the bench, you know, depending on how a game's shaking out, he's a good guy to kind of call upon. So maybe keep your eyes out on that. A player that Palace were linked to that I think would help fix this problem is Emil Smith-Rowe, but it feels like he's not going to be joining Palace, and maybe Fulham or something like that, so bit of a missed opportunity there perhaps. And the other main transfer rumour that I'm seeing knocking around for Palace is that Mateta is attracting the interest of Roma. Now, Crystal Palace fans, I would not be worried about this if you are worried, because number one, Roma are linked to every striker in Europe. Number two, they've already got processes underway with some other strikers on negotiating terms, trying to get fees and stuff like that arranged. And it feels like this is just a preliminary, like, reach out, like, oh, if we don't get Alexander Sorloth, if we do not get Dovbyk. And I could have swore there was a third one they were linked to, so I just went to check, and what it is they signed Matthias Sula from Juventus earlier today, and the kind of breaking news around the blocks now is that Dovbyk prefers Roma over Atletico, and I think Girona would probably rather sell out of La Liga if they're forced to sell Dovbyk. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about Mateta leaving for Roma. It's a bit of a non-starter for me. But I've got a lot of confidence, like I mentioned earlier, that the Crystal Palace board, the club, whatever you want to think of it as, have really backed and are really backing Ole Glasner, because it does feel that Sarr is the Olise replacement, and that transfer, relatively speaking, wasn't done that long ago. So Sarr, I don't think it's a foreshadowing necessarily of like, oh, he is the Eze replacement, and you know, Kamada is the Eze replacement, but he was bought first or whatever. But I think if Eze is to go, does go, that money will be given back to Glasner. It'll be like, right, go and do something with that. Go and get us whatever you think we need next to really strengthen and enhance this best 11 and make Crystal Palace as good as possible, because that's been one of the tricks a lot of Premier League clubs have missed out on, is when they are selling big players, you know, big fees to the elite teams around European football, is that regeneration and is that upgrading across the full squad. And I do think Glasner, Crystal Palace are set up really lean. They're a wee bit too lean for my liking personally, but they're set up lean enough, and they've got like a laser enough focus, I think, that with the style of play very, very clear and established for the manager, the coaching team and the current squad, and really the club backing it, that there is, you know, the players they're going to bring in will suit it. They're not just going to get a guy because an agent phoned him up or he's available or whatever. So it definitely bodes well for Palace. But if I do see Eze leave, if Guy leaves as well, then I do think that this team, it makes it harder for this team to really like move on. And what I mean by that is be better. But part of the problem with that is, like, if you look at Glasner's record with Palace for his periods, like, how much better could they really get? You know, they were pretty fucking good, you know. And even if he keeps them level, but then he has a full season with them, and then who knows what else goes on around the rest of the Premier League, then Palace could still have a bloody great year, no two ways about it. So optimism is still high, but expectations for me have maybe just come down a wee notch if we do see Eze depart. But yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts and feelings. Who should be the next incoming transfer for Crystal Palace? Is Ismaila Sarr going to hit the ground running? Is he going to fill the boots of Michael Olise well enough in terms of general goal contribution, style of play, that kind of thing? I'm really interested and excited to see what you guys say down in the comment section. On screen, and I have some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Do not forget to hit the subscribe button for more content like this. Stay out of trouble, and I will catch you on the next one.